first year was standing room only. The second year is just as celebratory and positive of an event. And I'll talk in a little bit about what we're going to do to wrap up this year's event that I think will be a fun way for us to all get up and get involved. But first of all, let me start by just making sure those of you who are in the room who may not know, October 11th is National Coming Out Day. So that means every day on October 11th in the United States, it is National Coming Out Day. This means that as we sit here now, marches and parades are going on around the nation in celebration of LGBTQ rights. This also means that while very public and very celebratory events are being held to celebrate social justice for all, there are still people all around us who are just now facing within themselves their own need to come out. It means that as some people do come out today, they may be severing ties with family and friends. This means that today, right now, an LGBTQ teen is being kicked out of his or her house or being bullied in the school hallways. So while major celebratory events are being held around the nation and right here in this room, it is vital that we not forget those who are still in hiding or those who have dared to out themselves to a less than welcoming world. It is up to us to raise our collective voices to show those people that it does get better, that they are welcome in this world, and that they do have allies lining up behind, beside, or even in front of them as they make their way toward equality. And this is why we are here today, to celebrate coming out for equality at Pitt Bradford. And for those of you who don't know, you may hear the term LGBTQ used quite a bit today. That stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, questioning, and then the club itself is the LGBTQS Alliance, which is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, questioning, straight alliance, and which is why I sometimes call the club the Alliance. Okay, feel free to make that a popular term that we use to help make it more digestible. Okay, so I want to get to the festivities of today and our convocation and this year's speakers. We have very poignant and powerful words coming to you today from Patrick Daniel, Tony Gaskew, and Margot Myers. Before I introduce them, though, I thought it would be good just for you to hear a few statistics. Last year, if you were here, I spoke for quite a bit about statistics around the nation. I'm not really here to speak today as much as introduce, but I want to talk just really briefly about the states in which gay marriage is legal. I think it's important for you to know that, as many of you in here are friends of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, or transgender people, and you may be hoping to attend a wedding of theirs, or you yourself may be hoping to wed someday. So it's good to know the states in which you or your friends have rights. Massachusetts, as of 2004, Connecticut as of 2008, Iowa 2009, Vermont 2009, New Hampshire 2010, Washington, D.C. 2010, which of course Washington, D.C. is not a state. Sorry, Dr. Robar. New York State 2012, and Washington State also 2012. And there's one state that recognizes out-of-state gay marriages, and that is the state of California. And that's, of course, only if you wed before Proposition 8 was passed. Another important number for you to just sort of have rattling around in your brain, the total number of lesbian and gay couples in America as of 2010 was 594,391. That's couples. Okay, that's just people who identify as being a couple. Okay, that's 594,391. That's hefty. Number of lesbian or gay people in a couple, 1.2 million. And I'm sure you can think critically about this and recognize that that's just people who openly identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transsexual, and that in fact 1.2 million is probably quite an understatement. I mention these statistics to you as we are now looking deeply into the 21st century, and your generation, as well as mine, and all the generations in this room, but I'm speaking right now to the students, your generation is the one to usher in this movement toward equality. What's more, your generation will be leading this nation within the next 5 to 10 years. This is true. You will be the leaders of our nation within the next 5 to although I like to think of you as leaders already. It will be your generation molding generations to come. Your legacy will be wrapped up in this social justice movement. Over the weekend, 2 women friends of mine took their vows and married in New York State, and I believe one of the brides is sitting in this room right now. Last week, I called the Mountain Laurel Inn, which is the bed and breakfast here in Bradford, to ask if my sister and her partner would be welcome to reserve a room over Thanksgiving break. Fearful that without inquiring first, I might be sending my sister and her partner into a hostile environment, I made the call and was pleasantly met with the innkeeper's reply of, "Hey, it's 2012. Don't worry about it." These are all signs that we are moving, albeit inching, along at times, toward a just world where all humans are treated with dignity and tolerance. I implore you to leave this building today and take this optimism with you as we parade together around the room and encircle our mountain campus in the spirit of justice and equality. But before we conclude our convocation and before we rise and march together, I'd like to introduce fellow social justice activists and this year's Coming Out for Equality speakers. Speaking first this morning will be, well actually, it's official this afternoon, Dr. Tony Gescu. I'm sure many of you know Dr. Gescu. He is the Associate Professor and Program Director of Criminal Justice, as well as a good friend of mine and one of the finest colleagues I think I have on this campus. And I'm sure many of you feel that way about him as a professor as well. We also have Patrick Daniel speaking with us today. I'm just now fortunate enough to be getting to know Patrick, but I've already been placed beside him at the table looking at issues of social justice and working towards women's rights on this campus and in this community. So I think we'll all come to know him as a fierce leader on the court as well as within our community. He is our new women's basketball coach. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say today about some of the images around masculinity and machismo and athletics and gay rights. And then we'll have Margot Myers. Many of you know Margot. She is a friend to all of us and an advocate for all of us in the many ways that we have found ourselves sitting in front of her, seeking her help at times. Margot is the program manager of the TRIO Student Support Services. She's also my fellow co-advisor to the LGBTQS Alliance. And I also want to very quickly point out 2 very important people in the room. We have Tyler Morris on my left, who is filming, and we have Caitlin Holland towards the back. They are terrific leaders and allies and student role models for not just the students in this room who may be seeking counsel with a peer, but also to faculty. I know I consider Tyler and Caitlin friends and very near family at this point to me, and I'm sure that they would extend that love and that support to everyone in this room. I'd also like to thank very quickly last year's speakers, Dean Harden and Dean Evans. I think Dean Evans is right in front of me. Dean Harden, if he's not in the room, I wouldn't be surprised to see him pop in. Last year, Liza Graville read a letter on behalf of President Livingston Alexander. Dr. Alexander, as I'm sure you can all imagine, is a very busy man and unfortunately could not clear the decks for today, although he tried. But he did send an email of his commitment and his avid support of LGBTQ rights on this campus. And lastly, I'll just mention to you that we have the alliance that I've referenced. We are approximately boasting 80 students in our enrollment. That's one of the largest student organizations on campus. I'm not sure, second largest on campus. That's 80 of your fellow peers who believe in social justice and lesbian and gay and bisexual and transgender rights. Okay, with that, I'd like to introduce our speakers then. We'll start with Dr. Gescu.
Well, good afternoon. First, of course, I'd like to extend my gratitude to Dr. Blackburn for allowing me to speak today. It's extremely important when we talk about the ongoing dialogue on social justice to just have, a few minutes to share my thoughts on the topic. You know, issues of social justice have always been a part of my life, both personally and professionally. Professionally, as many of you know, I spent over 20 years in the criminal justice field as a law enforcement agent. And on a daily basis, I could see the injustices that were applied. It is clear that Lady Justice pulls down the blindfold and sees race, color, creed, and sexual orientation. But on a personal level, issues of social justice have been simply part of my lifelong journey. You know, my dad was born in the South here in the United States, specifically in Louisiana. And he was born and raised in an era of Jim Crow. It was simply legal to treat someone differently. My mom is an immigrant to this country, hadn't spoken a word of English until she arrived here. And both her and my dad, they were puzzled as to how the country sort of looked at people who were different as evil or bad. With that, they left a lasting impression on my brothers and I. You know, when my parents decided to send me to school, first I didn't speak any English. You know, my mom decided that English wasn't important, although we were here in the United States. And my dad didn't think that was as funny, because he began to realize the only way that you're going to be able to make it in this country, the great equalizer, is an education. And if you didn't master the English language, that you would struggle. But they didn't spend much time speaking of those matters. What they did do is they told me, Tony, just as they told my brothers when they went to school. I was 5 years old, preparing myself for a life of Tonka toy trucks and Play-Doh. They said there's two things that we're going to value, that we're going to measure you as a person on. They said, first, take care of your brothers. You know, you guys are 1 year apart. When you go to school, and I grew up in inner city Chicago, sometimes it can be violent. And they said, no matter what, make sure your brothers are okay. Make sure that you speak to every single person with respect, with dignity. That's almost dance music. I'm going to pass on that, though. They ensured that they embedded in me to treat everyone with respect, dignity, and compassion. And you know what? At 5 years old, I was like, okay, I think I got it. It's the second part that had me puzzled. They said, Tony, it's also your duty to ensure that other people are treated fairly. And, you know, at that age, I wanted an explanation. You know, what do you mean other people? They said it is your moral duty that when you see an injustice, even at 5 years old, to speak up and to defend that other person. I thought to myself, listen, fighting for my brothers is one thing, but you expect me to fight for people that I don't know? And my parents explained to me, that is your measure of humanism. That it is a duty that you speak for everyone. And those principles of social justice I have carried with me my entire life. My parents were simply not about words. They were about action. And in my inner city community, I saw them treat people. I saw them defend people that they they had no idea who they were. But if there was an issue of inequity, if there was an issue of race, if there was an issue of sexual orientation, my parents would be leading issues of activism. And again, my parents ensured that my duty was to serve everyone, not just my personal family members. You know, as I look back, it's the one thing that I shared with my son. It is the one thing that my brothers shared with their children, that they have a moral obligation for social justice. And that is the only reason why you are on this planet. Anyone can make money. Anyone can be lucky enough and fortunate enough to get a great education, as most of you and the students here from the University of Pittsburgh. But the tough times will come when you have to step out of yourselves and defend others, and as my parents told me, at any cost. Having said that, my parents told me that every single person in their DNA has a call for social justice. It's just that it's a DNA you can't recognize in a mirror. It has to be in your psyche. It has to be in your heart. And that at times, you have to push people in order to see how their DNA actually impacts their behavior. You know, my hope is, as we all sit here, we have colleagues, we have friends, we have family members that we all love very dearly. But they are still blinded by labels. They are still blinded by race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation. And it is simply the duty of every single person in this building to speak to those individuals and to bring them to the light that every single person on this planet is a human, and no more than that. Again, I wish you all the best, and I thank you.
Good afternoon. First and foremost, I want to thank Dr. Blackburn and the Alliance, I'll just say the Alliance, here at Pitt Bradford for the invitation to speak here today. I'm very appreciative and thankful for this wonderful opportunity. For a few short minutes, I want to speak on the world in which I work, the sports community, and what I believe to be some stereotypes, some unfortunate truths, and what I believe must be done to improve the sports community and the responsibility we have and should play in promoting social justice, diversity, and freedom for any person to be who they really are. Let me start by speaking of some of the stereotypes associated with the sports community. I believe some would say that the sports community is a place where coaches and athletes are insensitive and unwelcoming to athletes regarding gender and sexual equality. Statements could be made by a coach that he or she does not want a gay or lesbian person on their team. Players in a locker room could make jokes about gays and lesbians. Fans at a game could be yelling derogatory and racist statements against an athlete, all in the name of supporting their team. Some would argue there is a belief that if you are gay or lesbian on a sports team, that you would cause chaos, and your conduct could be deemed detrimental to the team. Some people would say that in the sports world, we promote an environment that is unwelcoming, that being gay or lesbian is bad for the team. Some would argue that the sports community promotes an unwelcoming environment because if a person comes out and says that they are gay or lesbian, the sports community is not equipped to deal or handle such news. Unfortunately, many of these stereotypes are true, even in 2012. This past September, at a college in the state of North Dakota, a football player was kicked off the team on the grounds that his conduct was detrimental to the team because he lied to a coach about being gay. He was confronted after he was seen kissing a man. The question is, would he have been confronted if he was seen kissing a female? At another college in California, a student athlete discussed the uncomfortable feeling of telling their coach that they were gay. And the response of the coach was, "Are you sure?" Then the coach wanted to hurry the process along by going out and telling all the other coaches, telling the team, and making sure this would not be a distraction for the season. But the coach didn't ask the question, "Are you okay? What kind of support and help can I provide?" Yes, I do work in the world, the sports community where homophobic comments can be made. Yes, I do work in a world where many student athletes and coaches feel cornered, stressed out, depressed, lonely, because they feel as if they need to hide who they really are. Yes, I do work in a world, the sports community, where comments are made by fans during games that are racist, derogatory, all in the name of promoting their team. But let me be clear. I strongly believe there are many, many great athletes and coaches in high schools, colleges, and professional sports who are gay. I would hope that one day the sports community could say as a whole that it should not matter or be a big deal if you are gay or lesbian. But until we begin to acknowledge that we have a long way to go to dispel these stereotypes of being an unwelcoming and insensitive community who at times portray that it's not okay to be gay or lesbian on our teams, it is a big deal. It's a big deal because I believe we do have some student athletes in the sports community who are scared to be themselves because they believe they will be viewed negatively by their teammates and coaches if they decide to come out. It is a big deal because I believe we do have coaches and administrators in the sports community that have no idea how to handle being told by an athlete that they are gay or lesbian. It is a big deal because I believe in the sports community we have people who want to ignore or keep quiet about the issues of gender and sexual equality. They believe that they don't acknowledge it, it doesn't exist, and they don't have to deal with it. Nothing is gained without a struggle. These words were spoken by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. during the Civil Rights Movement. I personally live by these words every day, and I believe they're fitting to share today. I share these words because I believe to make positive, upward movement in being a community that accepts the wonderful diversity of our team and society, we have to know that it will not be easy. It's easy to use these words when talking about winning games. It's easy to use these words when we want to maximize the effort of our players. But we as coaches and people in the sports community have to show that our world is not just about winning games or knowing the X's and O's on a court, but it's about being people that truly care about our athletes, their well-being, and their experiences at our colleges and universities. Don't get me wrong, I want to win every game. But more importantly, I want to have a team that wins because we are a team that openly accepts everyone for who they are. I want my student athletes to know that I am that coach that has an open door policy. That means that my door is open for my student athletes to come in and talk about anything and everything because they know I care about them as a person and wanting them to succeed in all aspects of life. I want my student athletes to know that I'm a coach that helps them to know and understand that it may be scary to step out and to come out, but they don't have to do it alone. I want my student athletes to know that I'm a coach that will help them get the necessary support to help resources to handle the negative responses they might receive, not only in the sports community, but society as a whole, because they want and should be able to be who they are. And I'm not the only one that wants to be that type of coach for our student athletes. I believe that here at Pitt Bradford, I work with coaches and an athletic staff that believes exactly how I do. We have a responsibility to show diversity and the ability for all team members to be themselves, because it does matter. I believe that I have many coaching colleagues in the sports community across this country that know and understand that it is our responsibility to show in our attitudes and behaviors that we have to promote an environment that does not encourage silence, fear, or hate for being who you are. Yes, for some in the sports community, this is uncharted territory. To deal with gender and sexual equality issues. But I'm so thankful when I see Orlando Cruz, a professional boxer who's still active, who released a statement on October 4th stating that he was a proud gay man and he was tired of hiding who he really was. The San Francisco 49ers from the National Football League that joined the International It Gets Better project that tells LGBT teens that life does get better. Their message is that life challenges make us who we are, and that any difficulty we overcome together will make us a stronger person for tomorrow. I'm thankful that TV morning anchor Jennifer Livingston from La Crosse, Wisconsin, who publicly made a statement on her show in response to an email she received from a viewer. And she said that it's not right for anyone to bully a person, no matter what their weight, color of their skin, and sexual preference. And just the fact that I was asked to be here today to speak, progress is being made, not fast enough. And yes, gender and sexual equality is still a big deal and needs to be addressed. But I believe we're headed in the right direction. Just like so many others in so many walks of life have said, and I repeat it to everyone today, please do not let your self-worth be defined by bullies and people who choose to not accept you for who you are. Try hard to know and believe that the cruel words and actions of some are nothing compared to the ones that will love and support you for being who you are. Finally, I want to leave with all of you a poem that my parents gave me when I was a little kid. It's something that I proudly display in my office to this very day. I believe this poem is fitting for the day and every day because it should let us all know we have the God-given right to be who we really are. This poem is called Myself. Author is unknown. I have to live with myself, and so I want to be fit for myself to know. I want to be able, as days go by, always to look myself straight in the eye. I don't want to stand with the setting sun and hate myself for the things I've done. I don't want to keep on a closet shelf a lot of secrets about myself and fool myself as I come and go into thinking that nobody else will know the kind of person I really am. I don't want to dress myself up in a sham. I want to go out with my head erect. I want to deserve all people's respect. But here in the struggle for fame and wealth, I want to be able to like myself. I don't want to think as I come and go that I'm a bluster and bluff an empty show. I can never hide myself from me. I see what others may never see. I know what others may never know. I can never fool myself. And so whatever happens, I want to be self-respecting and conscience-free. Thank you.
I too want to say thank you to Dr. Blackburn and to the Alliance, as well as to the administration here at Pitt Bradford for promoting and supporting both the LGBTS Alliance as well as the environment and the community to be a safe place for all of us, no matter who we may be. I'd also like to thank each of you that are here today, that are supporting your friends, your family, your colleagues, and those you may not even know. Today is about supporting members of the lesbian, the gay, the bisexual, the transgender, the transsexual, the questioning, the queer communities, and their allies, as we strive to live openly and strive to live fully each day. When I spoke with members of the LGBTS Alliance about what they would like me to speak on, it was suggested I share my own process of coming out. As I thought about my own story and my own coming out process, I realized even more deeply at that moment that my story is no longer just mine. It's also the story of my parents, of my siblings, of my nieces, my nephews, my cousins, my aunts, my grandparents, my friends. It's their story too. As I came out, I also put them in a place to come out. That they needed to come out as a member or having a family member who identified as a lesbian. I also thought about the stories of my friends who have come out, some of them have had very positive stories like mine, and others who have struggled and have not had positive stories. And I thought about those friends of mine who have chosen to not be out for various reasons and who are not living their life openly at this point. So here we are, at the second Coming Out for Equality at Pitt Bradford. What a celebration. It is a celebration. I have decided to share thoughts about the process of coming out. Not mine specifically, but in more general terms. Because coming out is a process for any person who identifies as LGBTQ. But let's not forget that friends and family members also experience a coming out process. Some as an ally without a family member or friend who is gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender. But also for some who come out because one of their family members has come out. I have to keep in mind, it's not always my parents' choice to come out. I have placed that on them. Coming out is not just about sharing publicly about that one is LGBTQ. It begins with the first step, which is acknowledging to oneself that you yourself are gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, lesbian, or questioning. We know this journey may take years, and it is different for each person. This step requires one to think, to question, to wrestle, to accept, and to embrace their identity. Often this part of the journey is done in isolation, making this process more scary. Some people might stop at this place, and some people continue their journey. The next phase of this journey is deciding to share the information with another person. There are risks involved with being vulnerable. How one shares his or her identity is that person's journey and that person's decision. We must respect that. This phase may also include still parts of accepting one's own identity, but the journey is now outside of me. The journey is now somebody else's because I have invited them into my journey and my process of coming out. There are many benefits to coming out, being able to live openly, no longer needing to hide a part of oneself, no longer needing to think hard about when talking with people, how am I referring to the person I may be with, how am I referring to other situations in my life. Coming out often allows one to be more authentic in his or her life. And I can remember an experience of authenticity in my own life when I shared with my sister, who was the last in my family I was going to share with because I was most concerned about her reaction. That weekend after I came out, when I first came out, she embraced me and said, "I love you no matter what, even though this is hard for me and my personal beliefs." At the end of the weekend, she said, "You are so relaxed. I've never seen this side of you talk without thinking so hard about what you're saying." That to me was validation enough that I did the right thing in coming out to my family. Coming out takes planning. There's not a right or a wrong way to come out. People do it in all different manners. However, it does take thought. Coming out is often daunting and not knowing how others may respond. It's important to think about what to say, when to say it. Thanksgiving dinner is not the best option. Where to say it, and how to say it. It's also important that we, as we come out, be patient with those we're asking to join our journey. It's now a process for them as well. Who is there to support us as we come out is a question we must ask. All those involved in coming out, the individual themselves, as well as those that they're sharing with, will likely have multiple feelings, thoughts, ideas, and questions. Some of these might be conflicting, and that's okay. It's a process. Sharing with friends. Often this is the first leap of faith. One might find it difficult. One might have a negative reaction. On the other hand, the experience may be very positive, making the next coming out experience a little easier, a little less stressful. Sharing with friends might be surprising. We might anticipate some to be very supportive, and they may not be. And on the other hand, those who we might call turn and run may embrace us. It's important for us to be willing to have those conversations. They're hard conversations, and they're real conversations. They're important conversations. Sharing with family. For many, this is often the most fearful step of coming out. Telling the family, my family, who is there to be my support all the time, and knowing that they might reject me. This is a scary process for any person at any age to think about. However, many families, like my own, support their sibling, their daughter, in coming out. Some children support their parents as their parents come out. It just might take some time for them to absorb that news and adjust to the things that they now see in a different light. Remember, it takes time to process information. A final step, living openly. Living openly in the world as yourself. Living openly means to continue the journey of coming out. A move to living openly as your whole self, not just part of oneself. Sharing who you are and recognizing there are junctures in living openly as well. Some may embrace outness in a very public manner. Others might embrace outness in a much more subtle manner. Again, it's individual, and it needs to be respected. Living openly does not mean that one's sole identity is gay or lesbian or trans or as an ally. It means being comfortable in your own skin and letting others know, and letting others who may be judgmental know that their attitudes are theirs alone and that we're moving towards a different world. Living openly means paving a path for others to follow, and it does become easier with each experience and each day. For we never know who we're interacting with and what their story is until they choose to share it. What I've just shared is a generalized coming out journey of an LGBTQ person. However, this journey is similar for those who are coming out as straight allies. The path is different for all of us. The finish line is equality. Daily, LGBTQ persons face decisions about coming out. Daily allies face decisions about coming out. The journey is yours. But your journey, whether it's as a gay, a straight, a bisexual, a lesbian, transgender, pansexual, queer, or as an ally, we are all role models for others as we choose to live openly and as an ally, and or as an LGBTQ person. Living openly requires community and support. And therefore, I thank you for being willing to live openly as whomever you are and supporting those who are different.
Thank you very much to our speakers today. It was wonderful to hear all three perspectives. I want to just point out a few things before I invite you to join us in the parade around the campus loop. For those of you who don't know, there are a few signs that you can see around you on campus this week, but also all around you throughout your lives, around the world, every day. And those are signs, those are sort of pings on the radar that let us know that we're encountering someone who's either an ally or someone who identifies as LGBTQ. The first thing that you'll see is this rainbow flag right here. You'll notice that we have flags hanging in the main entranceway to all the academic buildings. You'll also see one hanging in my window as you're driving off the quad or off campus. You'll see this giant, don't tell facilities management that I'm in, but I did. It's hanging in my window. It's enormous, but I'm sure some of you might have seen a crazy one standing up against the glass with tape. That's me. This here is the rainbow flag, and anyone that you ever see waving this flag, wearing a shirt with this flag on it, a bumper sticker on their car, if it's the car in front of you, a faculty member with this flag in their office or doorway, you should know that you are encountering someone who either is LGBTQ or who identifies as an ally to the LGBTQ community. Likewise, you've got the equality sign right there. That's the Human Rights Campaign official flag. You'll see a number of those. Those are symbols that sort of go. They're still sort of pings on the radar, but they're a little less overt, and so it's not unusual for people to use those stickers on their cars or their doors, and it's a much more quiet, intimate way of communicating with people in the world who see the world the same way that you do, without necessarily outing oneself as an ally as they're coming out. Of course, you see the flags here behind me. Also, there's the safe zone flags that you'll see. They're the triangular rainbow flag, and it says safe zone. You'll see those all around our campus. That's an indication to you that you're entering into an office, be it faculty, staff, administration, that it's an office that is identifying as loudly as it can to you that it is a safe zone, and whatever it is that your sexual identity may be, your whole self is welcome there. I also want to point out the ribbons. Lastly, that's what I'm wearing here, and I know that several of you in here are wearing them, and you'll see them around campus as well. It's just a variation of the rainbow flag. You'll see these are national and international symbols for LGBTQ rights and equality. I'd like to thank Tanya Ackley, who is around, but Tanya is the director of the Wick Chapel, or the events coordinator of the Wick Chapel, and unfortunately I don't know Tanya's official title, and I'm embarrassed that I don't. But she's a terrific friend to the LGBTQ community, and has now 2 years in a row helped host this event and made sure that, speaking of undoing stereotypes in the athletic community, that we here at Pitt Bradford work together to undo stereotypes around the religious community, that in fact a church can be and should be a welcoming and safe space for all people who walk through its doors. I'd like to also point out the Alliance, like I said earlier, has 80 plus, roughly 80 members. If you'd like to, please like us on Facebook. It's a good way to kind of stay up to date on what we're doing, when, where. We meet Thursday evenings in Swartz Hall every Thursday. Sometimes it's work meetings, but oftentimes it's just a really good time. We've had movie night. It's a very playful, fun, wonderful community. Even if you don't identify as an LGBTQ member, it is a wonderful place if you are an activist for social justice, or you find yourself just operating on the liberal or open-minded side of things. It's a good community to grow into your own skin around. At this time, we're going to do something a little bit different this year. We thought we would, those of you who are able to join us, we've got time before the 1 o'clock classes begin. We thought that we would do something of a parade just around the loop. If you would like to, please feel free to grab a balloon as you walk off the ramp and take a balloon with you. There'll be flags being waved, but the idea would be, while we're small and we can't necessarily have a big booming parade like we would maybe see in Boston, we can do it mountain style and get our Pitt Bradford on and do a quick loop around campus and show our support. So please, thanks to our speakers today. Meet out front and begin the march from there.
At the same time, and all my other friends were like, oh, that's when I take my rubber bands. And not too much, not in my world.
Which way?
A guest, I tell you. I heard that.